Hey, what's going on, y'all? I'm Brandon Atlanta Man Bang, coming to you live right here at Coach's Corner, the center of the universe, Thunderbolt, Georgia. Thank you guys for tuning in. Another episode of Rubbin' and Grubbin'. Got some stuff to go over here in the news, get some feelings about it, give you my opinion about a couple things, man, and we'll go on from there. But hey, if you watch the show, you know how we started out. We always started out with the word of the day. If you've never tuned in, basically the word of the day, Lawrence is going to throw a word up here during the show. Every time I say that word tonight, you're going to take a sip of your favorite adult beverage. As I always say, it's all ages are welcome. If you're under the age of 21, man, you can grab energy drinks, Kool-Aid, sweet tea, whatever it may be. Get live on a Wednesday night. Give your parents hell, man. That's what it's all about. So today's word of the day is going to be, have no idea what it is, but there again, every time I say this word, make sure you take a drink, man. So moving right into some NASCAR news, got a few things to go over. Got a little bit of who's hot and who's not tonight, couple things thrown in there, but we'll get it started, man. So biggest news I saw, Richard Petty Motorsports selling that majority ownership claim to Gallagher Motorsports. You know, hey, man, it's been a long staple in NASCAR for a very long time. Richard Petty, the king himself. I mean, that the winningest driver all time in NASCAR history. You know, been a staple, seeing that iconic, you know, Petty Blue 43 out there for a long time. It's gonna be a little different this year. They got some other sponsors, man. He's kind of taking the limelight, taking a step back out of it. He's still going to be a presence. He's still going to be at the racetrack, just not the majority ownership in Richard Petty Motorsports, man. You know, with that being said, they're also adding in a second car. They've tapped into Ty Dillon to drive, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the 42, I'm pretty sure is what it is what I read, 42 or 94, one of the two. It's kind of up in there. I read 94, and then I also read the 42 coming back. So going to be a little different there, but at least that way they got two cars, which I think is going to pay dividends for that team. It's so hard in today's sport to be a single car team and be successful. There again, I think the sponsorship's going to help as they build in. They get some more sponsorship, a little bit more money coming to that team, a little bit more data to go off of. Might see them run a little bit better this year and coming into the next few years. Man, we're just going to have to wait and see how that all plays out for him. But like I said, at least the name's not changing. At least he's going to be there. Petty himself still going to be there. So big kudos to the king, man, and hopefully not ready to give up that crown yet. So Front Row Motorsports also tapping in, man, adding Todd Gilliland to drive that 38. If you watched sport last year in NASCAR, you know Anthony Alfredo had that one season in the 38. Ran pretty decent, you know, wrecked some race cars, as a lot of folks do, coming in from Xfinity or any other series into the Cup. But hey, man, I think that Todd Gilliland, we're going to see what this kid can do behind the wheel. It's son of former driver David Gilliland, still drives in the trucks here and there. So just going to have to see, man, if they can get it put together, see what it does, you know, for McDowell as well with that teammate, and see if they can build on some momentum, man. Big shout out Chandler Smith over there, his win on the 54 Snowball Derby. Another box to check on that resume for a young driver, man. You know, Truck Series, Xfinity Series, he gets shots here and there. Just a name to keep up with, man. Went out and got it done and locked on. Like I said, another box to check out on that resume as a driver, man. So Bubba Wallace, also getting a boost from McDonald's, man. They signed on to a multi-race deal, a few more races this year than last year. Obviously there with that win that Bubba got at Talladega, getting that first win of his career, definitely going to pay dividends for those sponsors, man. So glad to see not only 2311 getting a little bit more sponsorship dollars through McDonald's, but Bubba himself, man. So we'll see if he can race his way up there and become a Big Mac instead of the you know, McChicken, man. So we just got to see what he can do. But hey, big shout out, big move for him. So with that being said, man, I also want to give a big shout out to my buddy Parker Eccles over there at Arborman Tree Service, one of the main sponsors here outside of coaches for me on Rubbin' and Grubbin'. As I say all the time, anything you need tree service wise, make sure you give Parker a call. Stump removal, limb trimming, tree removal, just want an estimate to see what you need and what you don't need. Parker's the guy to call, man, so make sure you give him a call over there, Arborman Tree Service. You'll see that number scrolling during the whole episode, and thank you, brother, for everything you do for me, man. But more big news. Hey, man, got Stewart-Haas Racing set to make a major announcement later this week. I think it's kind of just to build some hype around that organization a little bit, especially after a lackluster year they had last year. Eric Almirola being the only sole win coming out of the Stewart-Haas camp. But it does have to do with the 14 car of Chase Briscoe, and I do know that the unveiling of their next-gen paint schemes is going to be part of it. So if you ask me, my personal opinion is probably going to be a new sponsor that they've signed on there on the 14 car for the year. Just going to have to see who it is and if it's that big of a deal to be a major announcement or not, man. But knowing Tony, it's to build a little bit of hype, and it's probably going to be a sponsorship if you ask me. But Menard to sponsor 2 Roger Penske cars next year, which is kind of crazy. The 2 of Austin Cindric and the 12 of Ryan Blaney are both going to have Menards on. I saw the paint schemes. They are very similar, man, which kind of brings me up to a point of what really happened to distinctive paint schemes in NASCAR, right? Like we all know those classic guys. I mean, obviously the DuPont paint scheme with Jeff Gordon, you know, the black Goodwrench of you know, Senior, you know, the 43 of Petty, you know, the Miller Lite Rusty Wallace. I mean, just so many guys that you have were just, you know, painted one way for a majority of the season. Maybe a special paint scheme here and there, All-Star Race or, you know, Daytona, something like that. But I'm not a fan of the multiple sponsor paint schemes. But in today's sport, I think that's just kind of what it boils down to is when NASCAR hit its peak, we had 1 or 2 sponsors that were willing to sponsor a whole team for the whole year. And as we kind of went down away from that, the pinnacle of the sport, it's taken a lot more sponsors to make a full season go around. So I think that is something we'll get back to as a sport. As I've said, it's on an incline. We're climbing back up. Will we ever get to where we were there late 90s, early 2000s? Don't know, but I think that we're headed in the right direction. So maybe we'll get back to having a couple sponsors and just that one major paint scheme, being able to identify not only by the car number for that driver, but also that paint scheme, man. Just something I think we got to get back to. But speaking of Penske again, man, hopefully you guys out there got to check out the 3-headed monster burnout they did during, you know, Nashville on Broadway there. It's pretty neat. Logano, Cindric, and Ryan Blaney all butted up and did a 3-car burnout. It's pretty neat to see. A lot of other guys did burnouts too. It was a pretty good show there in Nashville, return to Nashville for the Cup Series award banquet. Man, I tell you what, but if you hadn't had a chance, make sure you go out, Google it, check it out on NASCAR.com. The videos are definitely worth watching. It's a pretty neat deal, man. So, you know, good thing there. But getting back to the awards, it is official. Kyle Larson has been crowned the 2021 season champion, man. And, hey, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think anybody else out there was as deserving as him. It was pretty much a dominated season in a way. I was really hoping Chase Elliott was going to come home with those back-to-backs. Didn't happen that way, but hey, I love to see the 5 and Kyle Larson getting that win, especially everything that he's been through. And, you know, a good piece of news for him that I read in today, donated a huge check to a racing school. I want to say it was in the Midwest or up north somewhere, but he did donate a big, huge amount of money to that school for them to be able to buy equipment and things for these students, these kids that are loving to race and learning to race. So big dividends right there as well from a great champion and a great guy, Kyle Larson, man. And it would be unheard of if I didn't mention my man Chase Elliott being the most popular driver there again. I mean, go figure in NASCAR. His dad owned it for I don't know how many years, pretty much till Junior came along. I think it's 4 years in a row, 4 or 5 years in a row, Chase Elliott's won that most popular driver. I'm absolutely loving it, man. It's not hard to see why. With a name like Elliott, it's not hard to become the most popular, but at the end of the day, the kid's got an uber amount of talent, won a championship already, wins races every year. I mean, the sky's the limit for this kid and Chase Elliott, man. We're just going to have to see what he does. But he's always going to have my support until he retires, and I don't see that happening for another 20 years. So big investment right here. I'll be buying a lot of Chase Elliott gear over the years, man. So, hey, another big thing and a key I want to point up on, man, is, you know, what these drivers do during the off season. So we're going to pause for station identification real quick. I'm going to take a sip of this nice cold Bud Light, man. And a little reminder there from my producer, 72 days till Daytona, man. We don't have long at all. We are getting down to the nitty gritty. Even shorter amount of time before we get to see cars on the racetrack there at the LA Coliseum week before the Super Bowl, man. So it's going to be interesting, man. But please pause for station identification, y'all. All right, and again, thank you guys for tuning in to Rubbin' and Grubbin' right here on Coach's Corner Sports Network. If you haven't yet, please go out, like, share, follow all our social media. Check out the YouTube channel, subscribe. Lawrence does a great job putting that up here on the weekends, man. Does a little editing to it. Not quite as live and raw as this is at times, but it is a really good little show, man. Like I said, like, share, follow, subscribe. All it does is help get more eyes on the causes that we do here at Coaches and Rubbin' and Grubbin' for the charities that we represent. like I say, the more eyes, more people we can get it out to, the more money we're able to bring in for these local charities and these things that we do here at Coach's Corner. Greatly appreciated, y'all. So getting back to it, something I want to bring up, man, is a lot of things that these guys are doing in the off season. A lot of, back in the day, a lot of these older guys would take the time, spend some time with some family, do some things. You did have a handful of guys that would go out and continue to race. It's becoming the new norm now in the off season. You see it through Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell. A lot of these young guys that are in the sport now don't really take an off season. They'll take a little bit with their family, and then they turn right around and start racing. And for Chase Elliott, racing on dirt, that's something new. So there again, I think a lot of guys, I think it pays dividends in the sport in today's age to go out and get behind the wheel of different style race cars and different surfaces, whether it's dirt, whether it's asphalt, whether it's, a late model, whether it's a sprint car. It doesn't matter what it is. Nitro Rallycross, as Chase Elliott's been doing. It doesn't matter what it is. I just think that anytime that you're a driver and you can go and heighten your skills between the feel of a different car than what you're used to driving, it's going to end up paying dividends, not only through communication next season when you get in that car, but also being able to maneuver your car and get a feel in a different way than what you normally would or the year before. So when it comes down to it, I think that you get the feel out of the race car. It's going to help you in the communication going back to the crew chief. It's going to help you change your driving style if the car's not handling the way it needs to. And on top of that, it's just going to make you better as a driver and heightening your skills and raising the bar for you yourself personally. So just something that I've seen that a lot of guys have been doing here the last 3-4 years, definitely keeping that racing going during the off season. And I can tell you, if it helps in a way like Kyle Larson helped last year, I think you're going to see a lot more guys going out and racing during the off season. So we'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that, what you guys think about that. But like I said, I think for me, barring any kind of injuries and barring any kind of contract obligations that you're not able to go out and do that, go do it, because it is going to help your racing career and you as a race car driver. So moving right into the checkered flag for charity, man. We had it going on. Lawrence got the papers. I have no idea what we ended up raising this past year for it. But at the end of the day, I know we raised close to $4,000 right here on Rubbin' and Grubbin'. As I say all the time, none of that is possible without you guys tuning in and the patrons of Coach's Corner up here. What you guys do for us for all these local charity events that we hold, man, is amazing. The turnouts are always amazing. It's just an absolutely good feeling to see a community come together for these causes locally, and just people who even stopped by that were from out of town on a couple different things, raffles and different things we did up here, man. So charitable. So like I say all the time, none of that is possible without you guys out there. Help Save One of Our Own was a charity we did this year. We're going to have to wait and figure out what we're going to do here in the next year coming up, what charity it's going to be. So be on the lookout for that announcement, and we'll definitely get that kicked off right there starting at the Clash, man. That's when we all get it going. So, looking forward to that. But, moving right into the who's hot and who's not. And who's in the hot? Couple older tracks right now, man, is in the hot seat, man. You got North Wilkesboro and Nashville Fairgrounds got a grant, getting a little rebuild and revamp, man, and bringing that back to the glory days a little bit. So we'll have to wait and see if a NASCAR sanctioned race gets put back there. I don't think you'll ever probably see Cup cars again, but maybe a truck race, maybe some modifieds, maybe something that's related to NASCAR getting on. But North Wilkesboro had a NASCAR race all the way up to 96, from 49 to 96. So it was a staple of the sport for a lot of years and a really good short track. So with what we're seeing in the sport today and having 6 road course races, I definitely think it's time to get back to some short tracks, man. We got to get something figured out. But hey, like I said, glad to see these 2 pieces of motorsports history being built back up and revamped. And we'll just have to wait and see if they get that NASCAR race or not. So there again, as I said, Chase Elliott, one most popular driver. Obviously, he's got to be on the who's hot, man. Just doing good things, man. I think the kid's a great race car driver, carries himself very well. Kind of a veteran in a way, been in the sport long enough now. I guess you can call yourself a veteran. But I tell you what, at the end of the day, uber amount of talent. You might as well go ahead and chalk it up. Probably going to win favorite driver, most popular driver again next year. Probably his whole career is going to be known for winning it, man. So just keep a lookout. But I tell you what, kid's got talent, and look for a strong, we won't call it a rebound, but look for another strong run right here in 2022. So got to put Mark Martin in here too, man. There was some funny stuff that I read on a Twitter exchange between him and a fan. And basically the fan was just saying, Mark Martin finished 2nd, 6th, and 11th a lot in his career. Those are all spots meant for nice guys. And Mark Martin had a great comeback for it. He said, I've won 96 NASCAR sanctioned races. How many have you won? There was complete silence. A lot of folks responded laughing at it and this and that. But I will tell you this, man, it's really nice to peek in on Mark Martin and get a little vamp from him. He's not too involved in the sport anymore in the way he was. But at 62, I'll tell you what, man, that man's probably still in some real good physical shape. He was one of the very first guys that at an older age really started doing that workout regimen and getting his body into really good shape. And it really did pay dividends in the later part of his career, and it caught fire. Nowadays, that's pretty much what a majority of these drivers do. They go out and train to drive these race cars. And as many people out there that think this isn't a sport, this isn't physical, it's not physical contact, it's not a bat and ball sport, but at the end of the day, you're sitting in a piece of machinery that's 150 degrees, losing 4 to 6 pounds in 3 hours. And you're cranking, man. You're turning the car over and over and over. Your feet, your calves, your hands, your arms. So pay some respect to these guys, man. They are athletes in what they do. And I tell you what, like I said, he is one of the ones that set the bar to start training. So good shout out to Mark Martin, man. So moving right into the who's not. I really only got like one thing on the who's not, man, and it's pretty long. It's going to be a little rant for me. It's going to be the schedule for the 2022 season, man. I don't have anything wrong with the Clash moving from Daytona and going to the Coliseum. I think that's great. I think you're going to get a lot of eyes and a lot of companies that don't particularly tune into NASCAR. They're going to be there for the Super Bowl, man. You're going to see that, right? So I think that's great. But when you break it down, as I said, I'm personally not a fan of road course racing. I think that limit at the end of the year, we should have 4 road courses. I think both Roval should be on there, which Daytona didn't make the cut. Charlotte's still on there. But I really think there should be 2 Rovals, and then we should have 2 true road courses. I don't care if it's Circuit City of the Americas. I don't care if it's Watkins Glen. I don't care if it's Sonoma. I don't care what it is. If you want to run it for 2 years and change, you want to run it for 1 year and change, I really don't care. But 6 is a little too much. And now we're getting into the part where I'm really upset, because we're going to go back next year and we're going to race an Indianapolis road course yet again, right? We're going to turn around and race that, but there's no Brickyard 400. There's no classic hollow ground Indy racetrack in the sight for NASCAR next year. Now, I don't know if that's just something they did away with. I don't know if there's a spat going on between the owners of NASCAR and the track owner at Indy. I don't know if there's, F1 or, IndyCar and NASCAR themselves got problems. I don't know if it's something that has to do with the rubber that NASCAR lays down compared to when they hold that Indy race there. I have no idea what it is, but I do know that we have to get that race back on the schedule. That is one of the most prestigious races ever, kissing the bricks, the 400. I mean, it's got to go back on the schedule, man. We got to get rid of one of these road courses, put it back on the schedule. I don't care what you got to do, but it's got to be done, man. So, comments on the next gen, moving right along. I mean, there's a lot of good things coming out on the next gen, a lot of bad things coming out on the next gen, man. And I tell you what, I don't know if I'm a fan yet. I don't like the aspect of single lug cars. I don't like that. I always love the 5 lug. It's the human error. It's the fact of it. And granted, it's going to change the pit stop a little bit, not night and day like we would think. I also I don't think that the horsepower they're carrying at certain tracks is going to be the racing style that they necessarily want. I think that being more aerodynamic is great. I think it's safer. I think lower horsepower and lower speed, that's great. But at the end of the day, on a 1.5 miles, if you're able to get up to a guy's bumper and he throws a block and it kills your aero bad enough to lose, 2 car lengths and two positions on the track or a position on the track, I don't think that's good racing. I think that's going to cause a lot of guys to get a lot more aggressive, which maybe that's what NASCAR wants, and start putting the bumper on 1.5 miles, which is something that I'm not a fan of. I think that drivers should be able to have throttle control in their car underneath their foot to be able to wheel the car. That's part of being a driver, not hold it flat, keep it revved up, and hope for the best on the aero department. So there's still a lot of things that got to get, worked out there. Kevin Harvick had a really good comment, and he said if it was up to him, they'd have 1,000 horsepower. He said the more horsepower, and a lot of drivers feel the same way. It's just they need more horsepower. We need more power and more power. And I think as a driver, of course, you're going to want more power. But I think there's got to be a fine balance there between the aero and the power. We saw it last year. Those cars had a lot of drag at a few packages that they ran last year at a few different 1.5 miles to where you couldn't recover quickly from the horsepower. So I think that the car that we just had from the next gen car, the car we just had took 3 or 4 years to get right. but the racing we had last year and the past 2 years, to me, as a fan, has been great. It's been really good racing. We had some really good finishes, just, you know, a lot of good races. So I think the next-gen car has a lot to live up to. And hell, I mean, not only that, with that being said, you know, at the end of the day, got my swear money, y'all. At the end of the day, you know, this is the car that NASCAR's been working on for 2 to 3 years. They also had another year to develop it with COVID. It was supposed to come out last year. Last year was supposed to be the first year of the next-gen car. They delayed it till this coming up year because of the COVID. So with all this time to get this car ready to be able to be driven for a full-time schedule, and they're still having some issues, the clock's on, man. Like I said, 72 days to Daytona, shorter time than that, 2 weeks shorter than that before we go to the Clash. So the Clash, I don't think it's that big of a deal to get right. Quarter mile, low speed, going to be a lot of bumper usage, a lot of short track racing, 700 something horsepower on that. I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal. But when we get to Daytona, it's going to be a pretty big deal. When we leave Daytona and we go to another track, 1.5 miles, it's going to be a really big deal to have these cars right. So the door, you know, the ball's in NASCAR's court, man. They got to put up or shut up. They got to get this right, because like I said, the generation car we had to the generation car we're moving into, we're just going to have to find out if it's going to do what it needs to do to make good racing at the end of the day, man. So there again, that's going to do it for tonight. Like I said, during the off season, not much to talk about. You can tune in again every other Wednesday, so not next Wednesday, the Wednesday of the week right there before Christmas, the following Wednesday, I'll be right back here live, Coach's Corner, rubbing and grubbing, man. So moving right into the grubbing part, it's one of the things I haven't really fancied with up here too often. This is going to be the first go-around for it. I've probably got the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life bringing this up here. And to be honest, it's probably going to end up being her sandwich, because she'll probably fight me for it. But we got the French Open, man. It's a French dip right here at Coach's Corner. A little side of tots. Thank you, baby. Got the au jus to dip it in, man. I'm telling you, as soon as I get done talking a little bit more stuff, I'm getting ready to get off and get a little bite of this. Probably not too much, but a little bite of this, man. But hey, as I say all the time, man, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope everybody out there had an absolutely amazing Thanksgiving. Hope you got to spend it with a lot of family. Looking forward to the the holiday season coming up. Christmas, New Year still going, man. Ready to get back on this racetrack. Like I said, at the first of the year, we're going to go back to doing this every single Wednesday live right here at Coach's Corner, man. So I really hope you guys can bear with me for the next couple weeks. We started getting some more news, some more testing stuff pumping out. We get back into the flow of it, man, and we're going to have a lot to talk about this next year. I really think 2022 for NASCAR 1 is going to be a big season for an organization, but it's going to be a crazy season for drivers as we get this new car figured out as well, man. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Like I said, go out, like, share, follow all the social media. Definitely subscribe to that YouTube channel, man. Have a great weekend, great rest of your week next week. And like I say all the time, man, stay safe. And until next time, y'all, wash your hands. Love y'all, man. Until next time. All right. Because I saw it and I read the article. It's like Chase Elliott wins most popular driver. But what's up with that hat, though?